You know, a while back, maybe about a year ago, I talked about how Assassin's Creed had introduced in one of their games an in-game advertisement that would basically pop up when you would pause the game. It was basically advertising the newest Assassin's Creed, but shortly after that occurred, Ubisoft came out and they said, nope, this was a mistake. Now, some people didn't believe that was true, but regardless, this was not something that Ubisoft stood by. They promptly took this down, and I thought, yeah, of course that would have not been a very good idea. I mean, any game company that's going to put an in-game advertisement for basically their own game is probably going to have a bad time. People are not going to like that. And judging by the fan reaction, other game companies are going to see that. So we're not going to see this from a game, at least for a very, very long time. At least, not for non-mobile games. I'm talking console games, PC games. Well, everybody, I have got bad news. I was incorrect. You see, Call of Duty has, it's reached a new level of degeneracy. Yes, that is right. They have basically introduced in-game advertisements, kind of. Now, when I first saw this, I thought this actually meant that you're playing the game literally and you're like in the middle of shooting a guy and there's an advertisement that kind of pops up in the corner of the screen. No, it's not that bad yet, I guess. But apparently it is in the menus of the game. People were just posting about it today. It looks like Call of Duty just released a new season. It looks like season 4. So this is one of the lovely things that came with that new season. So of course I was curious. I looked for myself, and yes, this is true. This is a screenshot I took. I'm just editing, my HDR class, the sniper rifle class, and then if you actually just go to choose the specific weapon that you're on in kind of like the create a class mode, you can see, so this was not here before, that on the very top there is a little tag. I put a red arrow there to show that. This basically is advertising one of their in-game bundles, and then below that is all of the versions that I actually have myself. Obviously, before this change, that advertisement was not there. And yes, this is the case for literally any gun that you choose in the create a class mode. You can see here with an SMG class, it's the same thing, and I tested it. Yes, this is applicable in Warzone and multiplayer and zombies. Doesn't matter what you're on. If you are creating a class and you're editing it, this is going to come up, and you can also see it here with the XM4, the assault rifle class that I'm on. It's all the same. Now, I do want to say this. I actually kind of have to, I guess, give a little grace here to this whole thing. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Call of Duty deserves much grace here, but it is worth mentioning because I haven't seen that a lot of people are pointing this out, and it's a fair thing to point out. From what I am looking at, these are not just like totally random in-game bundles that they are just completely just shoving in your face here. Basically, it cycles through a few different bundles. Now, sometimes, depending on which gun you're on, maybe there's like 5 different bundles, or maybe there's 2, or maybe it's just 1. But the reason for that is because it's showing you every single bundle that is currently in their store that has a weapon skin with the weapon that you are currently on. That was kind of the theory I developed, and I looked into it, and yes, that does seem to be true. I do think that is worth mentioning, because at least they are specifically showing bundles that are relevant to that gun you are looking at, but still, that's about the only grace that I can give it. Now, I also want to include this. I didn't see that people were talking about this, and maybe this isn't quite new, but this is the main menu of like the COD HQ or the COD dashboard that they have now, where basically you can like choose any of the COD games now, and you can see that the very first selection that there is, and it's basically like the biggest screen that shows up, it is basically an in-game it is an in-game advertisement. It's not basically. If you're unfamiliar, it's where it says Black Cell right there. So Black Cell is a thing that they advertise every season where you can, pay like, I think it's like $20 and get a, believe it or not, a premium version of the Battle Pass, like a better one. So yes, that is just front and center on that page. Now, I do also want to mention this. There was this Reddit post that showed that if you go into one of the menus that is just called event, this is where it shows any like limited time events that are occurring in like the COD atmosphere. You can see that on the top left there is just a blatant advertisement for a bundle, and yeah, this is not, I would say, a limited time event. I mean, yes, these bundles go through cycles in the store, so I guess it is like a limited time bundle technically, but it's totally a stretch and totally crazy to put it in that event tab. That is way worse than the gun thing, but I will say I did look into that myself, and for me, that did not show up, so maybe they took that part out. But regardless, I guess we have entered a new era of Call of Duty. This is probably not a mistake, and this is probably not going away. At least for the gun selection thing, I think this was kind of a slick, sneaky way to throw in some advertisements there when you're in the menus, because as I said, I suppose on paper it does make sense that they're showing you specific bundles to that gun, but it's still very much an in-game advertisement, and people are pointing out that especially with like the actual Black Ops 6 zombies and multiplayer mode, that, unlike Warzone, is not a free-to-play game. A lot of people, well, people who don't have Game Pass, they're paying $80 for that, I believe, now. So yeah, you got in-game advertisements on your game that you paid full price for. People are saying that basically it now feels like, you know, a mobile game, and I don't blame them. I certainly hope that we are not about to get into, you know, more of a territory where there are further in-game advertisements for Call of Duty. Honestly, for years now, I have kind of just given up on Call of Duty. I just think it's, well, I mean, anything I could say about it at this point has already been said, but it just feels like such a stale experience anymore. I mean, I just feel like the developers, they put such little effort into it. They only care about just short-term profits. That's it. I don't even think they care about like the long-term profits, the long-term ecosystem. I don't know. With this happening with Call of Duty, I can only wonder if the future is even worse for like actual in-game ads for Call of Duty. Like having an ad pop up in the corner of the screen or something if you are in the middle of an actual match. That sounds very crazy, but give it time, who knows?